Welcome to this channel. My name is Abdullah Saeed. I am a professor of Islamic studies at the University of Melbourne. Many of us hear today terms like Sunni, Shia, Sufi or Salafi, but what do these labels actually mean? Today, we'll break down the main ways Muslims are categorized and what these terms really refer to. Let's start with Sunni and Shia. The first major distinction among Muslims is between Sunni and Shia. This division arose after the death of the Prophet Muhammad in 632 of the Common Era, when Muslims disagreed on who should lead the Muslim community after the Prophet's death. Sunnis believe leadership should be based on community consensus, and they believe Abu Bakr, the Prophet's close companion, to be the first legitimate leader after Prophet Muhammad. Shia Muslims, a smaller but significant group, believed leadership should remain within the Prophet's family and believed the Prophet's cousin and son-in-law Ali should have been the leader of the community after the Prophet's death. This basic idea about leadership and governance led to the emergence of a Sunni identity and a Shia identity in the first 200 years of Islam. Today, both Sunnis and Shia have their own theological schools, legal schools, and the like. Now, let us look at the labeling of Muslims based on the school of Islamic law they follow. Islamic law is central to how Muslims practice their faith. Sunni Muslims follow one of four major schools. Hanafi school, the most widespread, known for its flexibility and reason-based rulings. Maliki school emphasizes the practice of the people of Medina in understanding how Islam was practiced at the time of the Prophet. Shafi school emphasizes a balanced approach. Hanbali school emphasizes the need to remain close to the Quran and Hadith in legal matters. Shia Muslims mainly follow the Ja'fari school of law. The differences between these schools of law are not that great. There may be differences on how one performs prayer, for example, and on other legal issues. What about labels based on which school of theology Muslims follow? Muslims also differ in how they understand God, God's attributes, and a range of other theological matters. Here, Muslims can be labeled as Mu'tazili, Ash'ari, Maturidi, or Salafi. Let me explain what each school stands for. Mu'tazili school is a rationalist school, emphasizing reason and justice. This school disappeared many centuries ago, but its influence has remained to some extent. In the modern period, some ideas of this school, such as emphasis on reason, are being revived, particularly by some modernist thinkers. But for all practical purposes, this school does not exist today. Ash'ari school is a Sunni theological school that balances reason and divine revelation. Maturidi school is similar to Ash'ari school, but with more emphasis on human reason. It is also a Sunni school. Salafi or Asari school rejects theological speculation and use of too much reason in theological matters. This school sticks closely to literal readings or interpretations of the Quran and Hadith on theological matters such as God's attributes. If the Quran says God has a hand, they will affirm that. They would not interpret it metaphorically. Other schools may interpret such phrases. What about the emphasis some Muslims have on the political dimension of Islam? Many Muslims see Islam as primarily a personal faith, while others emphasize its political dimensions. Those who emphasize the political dimension of Islam are usually called Islamists. An Islamist, therefore, is a Muslim who emphasizes the political dimension of Islam today. Islamists believe in establishing an Islamic state or socio-political order based on Islamic principles. Other Muslims focus on Islam as a personal and moral system without advocating for a particular political system or structure. What about labeling Muslims based on an emphasis on spirituality? For most Muslims, spirituality is central to their faith. But there are Muslims who may overemphasize this dimension. Those who overemphasize this spiritual dimension are called Sufis. Sufis emphasize self-purification, devotion, and connection with God through practices like zikr, that is, remembrance, and spiritual mentorship. There are many Sufi orders around the world. Many Muslims follow these Sufi orders. What about labeling Muslims as inclusivists or exclusivists? Muslims also differ in how they view or engage with people of other faiths. Muslim inclusivists emphasize respect for people of other faiths or religions, and they have a positive attitude towards those people. Muslim exclusivists take a more rigid stance and may hold negative views of people of other faiths or religions. What about those Muslims who argue for reform of Muslim thought today and those who reject such reform? Finally, many Muslims advocate today for adapting traditional Muslim thought in certain areas to modern challenges. They talk about reform of Muslim thought, particularly in legal and cultural arenas, because of the significant changes that have occurred in Muslim societies in the 20th and 21st centuries. Muslims within this reformist category may follow different ideas about reform. The scope of what they want to reform may also vary. Therefore, they can be placed on a continuum from a moderate level of reform to wholesale change and reform of many areas of Muslim thought. It is mainly this wholesale change and reform a lot of Muslims are very concerned about. Modernists, including those who are labeled neo-modernists, progressives, and liberals, seek to reform traditional Islamic perspectives on areas such as gender, law, governance, human rights, and interreligious relations, to name a few. Modernists can generally come from any school of Islamic thought, perhaps with the exception of Salafis. Opposed to these reformists or modernists are traditionalists. Traditionalists adhere closely to classical Islamic teachings on such matters, and they oppose and resist major changes, regardless of the level of changes that have occurred in society. The term traditionalist is a very general one and simply emphasizes the idea that traditional Islamic teachings on such matters must be maintained. These traditionalists can come from any trend or school of Islamic thought. They can come from Sunni, Shia, Hanafi, Maliki, Hanbali, Shafi'i, Ja'fari, Ash'ari, Salafi, or Sufi trends of thought. It is not limited to any particular school of thought. These labels of Muslims, which are widely used in the literature, help us understand different perspectives within the Muslim world. But the key point is that Muslims, regardless of the school of thought they belong to, they all share a core belief in one God, Allah, and the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. Muslims in general also hold on to the most important, universally agreed upon fundamental beliefs, practices, and values of Islam. These fundamentals are shared by almost all Muslims. The differences are often on interpretation and non-fundamental areas of Islamic thought. Thanks for watching.